Welcome back to another episode. This is actually a new series we're starting up. I'm calling it the Starteryou Career Stories. And basically, we're having real professionals from just everyday jobs or big companies, not like founders or student side hustles, which were other episodes and series that we did. So the three series we have right now are one, student side hustles, anyone from high school or college doing things like e-commerce or reselling or any type of side hustle gigs. Then our second series was for founders. They could either be student founders or just people who are out of school, CEOs and founders. And then the last one is just people who are in taking different career paths and telling their stories about how they got where they are. And today's our first guest, Brendan, and he is a production assistant and GDC operator for the NBA. He's huge in like the sports world, so if you guys are sports heads, you guys are gonna love him. I don't want to spoil too much, but he was calling games and doing commentaries for college games, and he interned with Fox Sports and a couple other things. But again, I'm not going to spoil too much. I'm going to let Brendan talk about it. So let me pull it up, and we'll start the first episode. Okay, Brendan, we are live. Hello.
What's up, Michael? How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining. Really, it means a lot. You're our first guest on the Career Stories podcast, so you should be honored.
I appreciate being the first one. It's good to reconnect with you and happy to talk about my career and what I do.
Yeah, and just for some background for the stream, he's also a Sacred Heart alumni where I went to school. That's how I know Brendan. And we've known each other for quite a while now, so I thought he'd be the perfect first guest. But yeah, take us back. So when did you first realize you wanted a career in sports media? What kind of sparked that interest?
I would say it started in high school. So I was kind of going through my junior, senior year, really didn't have a clear idea of what I exactly wanted to do. I always was kind of a shy kid. So I was like, I just go to school, go to class, go to like practice and go home. Like I wasn't really passionate about anything. So I ended up taking a public speaking elective with my teacher, Mr. Joe Ferraro. So shout out Joe Ferraro. We took a public speaking class and it really started to bring up my confidence in terms of speaking in front of other people because I wasn't really the most confident kid growing up. So being able to do this really got me out of my comfort zone and being able to give like historical speeches in front of, like 10, 15 kids, maybe realize, well, listen, maybe I can do something with this down the line, but maybe in sports, because I've always played sports growing up. I was a two-sport athlete in high school. So I was like, you know what, like maybe this is like a career I want to do. And I just kind of maybe stumbled upon that, the sports broadcast and the sports media industry was something that could be a potential fit for me. And that's kind of where where everything started.
And you're definitely not the first person to come on here and say how important public speaking is. I mean, you also agree that it's probably one of the most key, crucial skills you can build when you're young.
Yeah, definitely give it a try. I recommend everyone to do it. It's definitely something that you need because, if you can practice in front of a class full of people, like you're gonna have to speak to recruiters, employers, your bosses. So it's like it's a very important skill, and I recommend everyone if they could take a class in high school or in college, do it. The more better you're at, it's gonna fit very well for you.
Yeah, I agree. Top three. For skills wise, at least, because it translates for stuff that you need in school, stuff that you need for the workforce, and just you seem so much more professional when you're good at public speaking. Like I would trust someone way more if they're really confident and it seems like they know their way around an audience and can easily present.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
It's about engagement as well. If you're good at speaking, you can communicate with the room, and it's going to benefit you a lot in the future.
Yeah, true. So let's talk about where you started out. You did play-by-play announcing in college. What drew you to kind of that side of sports for play-by-play announcing? Like, why that specifically?
So I always just kind of wanted to kind of be like the face. I kind of always just wanted to have my voice out there because once I knew I had the public speaking skills and I knew I wanted to do sports, knowing that this could be a potential career, I was like, I got to give this a try. So I just was kind of like, I kind of had a goal where I wanted to be within that broadcasting industry. But, every time I went to Sacred Heart, every time I had to go and work a game, you kind of have to work your way up. So I was doing all the stuff behind the scenes, the cameras, the graphics, the replay. And then just one day, my sophomore year, they said, hey, you want to go and call a men's volleyball match. I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And it ended up being against number 4 Penn State in the country. So I was kind of a nervous little sophomore doing that, but that was just kind of the start, and it's blossomed since.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, did you get experience in the other departments or other positions? What else have you done, and what was your favorite and least favorite roles?
Um, you have to start off here, but I would definitely say camera wasn't my most favorite in that aspect of broadcasting, just because like you have to follow the play every single time. You're live every single shot. So if you mess up one thing, it's live TV, so it can't get redone. I was definitely big into like the replay side of things because you're kind of able to pick out what the best clips are. You talk to your technical director or your director, like, hey, I got a really good shot on camera 3 or game camera 2. So like I think that was a really cool aspect because you're playing out that stuff in real time on air. So if you stop the footage, it stops live on air. So it's like it's good to kind of be in those like high pressure situations. So
Yeah.
those are definitely very, very big aspects of the broadcast for sure.
And has there been any moments where like, oh shoot, we're live and I just messed up really badly? How do you go about those?
Oh, it happens every time. I'll maybe kick myself in the foot for a minute, but I'm just like, the show goes on. No one is going to be perfect in life. You're going to make mistakes. At the end of the day, it's just how about you rebound from those mistakes and get better. So I just always try to take the lessons that I learned. I always watch my broadcast, just to kind of one to clip highlights, but two, just
Yeah.
to kind of see where I can get better. So if I made a mistake, if it's something small, like it just happens. It's part of the game. So you learn from it and you move on.
And I'm wondering, how do you like? Do you have a specific sport that you do, or you really just took any gig you can get your hands on?
Take anything you can get. So like it was volleyball. I never thought that volleyball was kind of like the place where I'd be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you
But it's just kind
understand
of
volleyball, like, and all the lingo and
you
how
have
the gameplay
yeah
works?
you have to learn. So
Yeah,
it's as much as you're learning about the coaches, the players, the teams. It's all about the lingo. It's all about the broadcast itself. It's all about the sport itself. So like it was volleyball, lacrosse, softball, baseball, soccer, like whatever they needed me to do. Like I wasn't gonna say no because you know
good.
what you'll learn very quickly in this industry that an opportunity is an opportunity, and you never know what that is going to take you in your career. So me saying yes to volleyball, a sport that I've never called before, never played before, it opened up the door to so many other opportunities.
Yeah, and how do you go about kind of learning it, and also how do you study up on like the players and the coaches? How does that all work?
Yeah, so for like broadcasters, they have these things called like spotting boards. So like you kind of get like a big manila folder and you get like 2 or 3 long pieces of paper and you just start jotting down players, stats, coaches. So like for Sacred Heart specifically, if I was doing a volleyball match, a women's volleyball match, I would go to the volleyball roster. I would write down every single player, their position, their year, their stats from this year, their stats from last year, if they have any fun or interesting facts.
Jeez.
Sometimes I would just try to go on Google itself and see if I can find any information. And so that's kind of the main preparation for the sport itself. But I took the extra time to talk to players pregame and coaches pregame, and I think that's a big aspect as well because people don't really recognize this, but like quotes from like players and coaches during the game can like mean a lot because you can have like a specific play that happened. You're like, oh well, I talked to Coach Landry today, and you have that quote right there, and it's super useful. And honestly, with following the sports, a lot of it was YouTube, kind of getting the understanding, and just Google, just keep researching, and the more research that you can get, the more knowledgeable you can get, the better you'll be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you guys do like pregame and postgame interviews too, besides calling games live?
Yeah, so actually, I was kind of the one that implemented, let's do, these post-game interviews. We didn't do pre-game. So like for football and basketball, it was pretty common knowledge to do post-game press conferences. But like for a smaller sport like volleyball, it's just you go in at, let's say 7 o'clock, tips at 7:03, then you're rolling. And then once the game is over, you're done. But like I wanted to get stuff for my reel. And two, I thought it'd be better to implement like that stuff into the broadcast. So I would go to my director pregame like, hey, let's do this. Like, let's have some fun. Let's
Yeah.
do a post game interview. And it just kind of continuously started to get better. So then as I was doing those, the players started to know me and the coaches started to know me better. So it's like I started to gain a personal relationship with them. So the better I knew them, the better the broadcast I can produce.
I mean, we got a question in chat. How do you stay motivated? How is
You
the
know,
yeah? How do you do it? Very generic,
you know,
but
no. Let's say the short answer is that you just got to keep grinding. You do it for the love of the sport. At the end of the day, it's something that you love to do. It's something that you're passionate about. You're willing to do whatever it takes. So this is always something that I knew could be a possibility for my future. So I was like, just keep going, keep grinding. And again, you never know where one opportunity is going to take you. So that was just always my mindset. And whatever broadcast it was. So if I did a broadcast tonight on a Sunday, I'm gonna do well on that. But if I had a broadcast tomorrow, I'm gonna try to make Monday's broadcast better than Sunday's broadcast. So it's just trying to get as much reps as I can and just become the best person.
and I was gonna say, did you come from something right now? Did you do a broadcast recently today?
No, actually, I did not. I was actually at one of my other jobs at Major League Baseball doing replay. I know we'll talk about that a little bit later, but
Oh,
just
okay.
again, dipping your feet into the water in several different areas. So no, not that. We'll go into the public address announcing like aspect of stuff later. But
Yeah,
I've
I
been
want to
doing
stay on
some
the
of that
college for
stuff
now.
recently. Yeah. So I've been doing some of that stuff recently.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely get into that. And I want to know, what was kind of the hardest part for like the research wise to understanding all the players and keeping track? Because you're doing different sports every time, and there's new rosters every year or every semester. So how do you keep up to date with all this stuff? And do you have like an organization management, or how do you keep track?
Yeah, so honestly, I just kind of kept a Google Doc of every single like player that I had. So it was pretty easy. So like if let's say like there was a player on the volleyball team that someone had the number one, someone had the number two. The number one player was a senior, the number two was like a junior. Okay, well you automatically know, unless they go in the transfer portal, the number two player's coming back, there's gonna be a new person number one. So like it was kind of easy to fill in slots. So it's not as hard as people think. It's just being as up to date with the website, like the athletics website, as much as you can, in addition to again talking to coaches and talking to players.
And for those interviews that you did, was the first couple ones you did, were you really nervous, or how did you go into
Oh,
planning those?
oh yeah. So I always try to keep it short and simple. So I always try to keep my interviews to at least 3 questions, depending on the timing too. But it was kind of a matter of, all right, we'll stay on the volleyball side of it. If we're going into a fourth set, shoes up 2-1, and they're dominating across the front, you need 25 points to win a set. If they're up like 20-11, or let's just say whatever, I'm gonna look at who's having the best overall match, and then I'm gonna tell my director, hey, I'm gonna interview this person. So then right when that game's over, and let's say I'm in a break, whatever, I'm going right up to the coach on the court, like, hey, I want to interview this person, and then they'll gladly bring them over. So it's just being as up to date as possible, because you want to get the star player. You don't want to get someone that's like hasn't played that much. So I think that just keeps the importance of staying in the moment and just
Real
recognizing
time.
what's going on around you. Yeah, seeing what's going on in real time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that's totally different than being on something scripted. Like you're doing something that's literally being done at the moment, and you have to commentate
Hmm.
on the fly, do interviews on the fly. You might have to change questions, change who you're gonna interview based on that. Like, how do you manage all that? The real time aspect of it.
I honestly just the way I kind of describe it is that you could just say you're just watching a game on TV, and you're calling the action.
As it is.
I really didn't kind of go into the being like, hey, like I'm on ESPN Plus today, or when Sickerhart was in the NEC on NEC front row. I was just like, I'm gonna go and talk about the sport and the action that's going on. I didn't really try to think too much about it. I didn't like think that like, oh, again, if I mess up, the world's over. Like it's gonna happen.
You don't
So
like
just trying
scripting it
to
out. You kind of like going on the
the
fly.
the the only thing I scripted out most of the time was a pregame. So like I'd maybe
Oh,
take 10 minutes, write a little pregame intro. That's like a paragraph that'll take us into the first commercial break, just kind of highlighting the team's records and stuff like that. But yeah, besides that, everything is on the fly, and then that goes into like maybe after every timeout, you check the score, check the stats, etc.
and do you have people in your ear helping you, or do you have stuff on like iPads and things with the score? And
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously, like you're able to see the score in the arena. I usually have a live stat up on my computer every single time, just to kind of keep in touch. There's usually a producer in my ear that kind of helps me as well. But then obviously I can have my storyboards laid out in front of me. So obviously as season's going on, I'm getting more well known with the players and knowing them a lot more. It's like I don't have to look at who's number 7. Like I know who number 7 is on the dot. So it's like I kind of know their strengths and weaknesses. So it's just as time was getting on, it was getting a lot easier.
That makes sense. And we have another question. So while you were in school, I guess, did you have any mentors, and how did you find them, or any people you kind of looked up to in this space while you were in
I would
school?
definitely, yes, I would definitely say someone that I kind of got close to, two people actually. It was Randy Brochu and Freddie Coleman. So they were our main broadcast duo for football and basketball. So, Randy's been doing this a bunch of years. He's the voice of the Pioneers for a reason. So I was just trying to pick his brain a little bit here and there. And then for anyone that watches like or listens to ESPN radio, Freddie Coleman's on the air like every day. So it's like to know someone that high up in the industry that knows what he's talking about and just trying to pick their brains. It was good to learn from them. And I would say to anyone that's at Sacred Heart wants to do this stuff, they're there. Talk to them. Like they're happy to help you out, and they love all the support, and they're happy to give back.
Yeah, as I was saying, you're kind of in an industry where you can kind of copy the cadence and flow, or how people commentate. You can copy their style almost, right? Or take note of what they do.
Yeah, yeah. It's you don't necessarily want to copy everything to a T because
Yeah.
people will recognize that. But as time goes on, you could start implementing your own stuff. So yeah, from the big guys, you start taking you can take their ideas, but okay, I have their idea. How can I improvise on that idea and make it better? So that's just stuff that you got to emulate. And I think there's also something you just have to be aware of.
Yeah, as I say, copying them straight up probably wouldn't be the best idea. Otherwise,
Yeah, no.
people are probably gonna get on you for that. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so let's start moving outside of college. What was the first thing you got? Was it an internship? Was it a job? What was your first position straight out of school?
So I went to Sacred Heart, got my bachelor's degree in sports communication and media, and then I got my master's in sports communication and media. So in July of last year, I was hired by the NBA to be a production assistant game distribution center operator for them for the 2024-2025 season. So that was the first job.
And so walk us through, how did you get that role? What was it entail? What was a day in the life of like?
Yeah, so honestly, I got the job on LinkedIn. Like,
Shocked.
for people, go on LinkedIn 3 times a day. Like, you just got to keep checking. So I just applied. I went through the process. Unfortunately, they were hiring like 30 people at the time. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to take it. Let's do it. So basically just kind of like a simple day-to-day. So what I'm responsible for is producing the live broadcast for NBA games on NBA League Pass, which is our league-wide subscription. So obviously I would get my schedule about a month in advance, because obviously the times and the dates, they change constantly. That's how sports works. It's not your Monday through Friday. Like, it changes. It's 24/7, 365. So let's say hypothetically I'm working a New York Knicks game at 7 o'clock. Usually I try to get there around 2 to 3 o'clock. And so then what we do is during the commercial breaks, I'm in charge of playing either ads like commercials, or we're showing content that's in arena. So we would be using a Google Sheet, and with our content creation team that we work with every single day, they have pieces of team content and universal content that we kind of go through. So we're kind of step by step saying, all right, what's the most up-to-date video? Can we use a video from today, a video from a couple days ago? So it's kind of like you're trying to pack and order a full-on rundown. And the rundown that we're getting is like, so the Knicks are MSG Networks. We're using their specific commercial rundown. So we're just kind of following that every single day. So let's say the Knicks are on the home team.
Yeah.
So basically during commercial breaks, we're showing actually in arena content. So the in arena team will send their stuff to us, and we kind of look at it. So it's like in the first quarter, at the first break, they're doing like a half court shot. All right, so I know during that timeout, I'm going to go to the in arena feed and show the half court shot that's going on. So like I operate a GDC side and a studio side. So during a home game, both sides during commercial breaks are showing in arena. If I'm doing an away team, one side's in arena, one side's playing, this content. During the game, I have the ability to hear ADs during the game. So it's like they tell me when they're going to break. So then I have to press certain buttons to get to the break. But then there's also a bunch of stuff that I have to do pregame as well. Obviously, I have to download my videos, put in upper thirds, potentially put in lower thirds, about 90 minutes to maybe an hour 45 before, depending if I'm working a home team or an away team. I have to listen to the coach's press conference for pregame. So, like at the time, it was Tom Thibodeau. I'd listen to his press conference. If it was 9 minutes, I'd clip his press conference, put it in his lower third, and I put it in a thing called a storyboard. So that's what we were using to kind of separate our breaks. So then, if it's a home team, 90 minutes before, I'm showing what's going on in arena. So I'm just kind of getting prepared for the game. So then, obviously, on the studio side, there's a pregame studio show. So I'm getting ready for the studio show. That's usually 30 minutes prior to tip off. So then at 6:30 on the dot, I'm pressing in to go into the studio show. I'm watching the studio show and watching the in-arena side. So I'm watching two streams at once. So we're doing that mostly during the entire game. We're operating halftime shows, post-game shows, and also I'm responsible for covering post-game press conferences as well. So that's like kind of like a gist of specifically of what I do, but it's something's changing every single day.
Say it does not seem cookie cutter at all. And
yeah, yeah, it took training. So I was season last year started end of October. I was in beginning of September starting to learn the stuff. So it was just a day-by-day process of learning how to actually produce a show, how to build a rundown correctly, how to cut tape, edit videos, stuff like that. So there was a lot of preparation that went into it.
okay, and for the story, so explain storyboards like it's someone who's never heard of what that even means.
Yeah, so we use a something called a Dreamcatcher Bravo. So it's like kind of like a specific system that we use at the NBA. So we have a tab, kind of like if you were looking at a tab on a computer. It's called a storyboard. So basically, the way that it's like structured is you'll have the maybe like 3 pregame studio breaks. So it'd be like pregame 1, pregame 2, pregame 3, and every time I'd click on a specific tab, like pregame 1, I would put in the content I'm going to put in for that specific commercial. So then obviously going down the list, and it's like first quarter, first break, first quarter, second break, end of first quarter, beginning of second quarter. So it's kind of just going in the whole, every single segment that you're going in. So it was a very meticulous process that took a lot of time, but so that's why I'm getting there 4 to 5 hours before a game. So just kind of putting down in order what I specifically have to do. So it's just kind of going through the order and just following my rundowns.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a structured layout of basically a show. It's basically mapping out the show, every single segment that you control and are going to be showing something on the screen.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, do you do the editing stuff, or you have a content team that handles all that, and then they hand it to you and you put it on the screen?
Yeah, so we have a content team that does that. They're responsible for cutting down videos, searching up videos, and putting in videos into our systems. So yeah, very fortunate to work with them because they're kind of the ones that make the operation go behind the scenes. Because without them, we would have no videos to play during commercials. So yeah, they're responsible for doing all that stuff, shipping it to us, and then we're kind of responsible for looking at what's the best and newest content to use, and then putting it, in our storyboard, and then putting it out for a global audience.
Now I'm understanding the flow. And so you're in a room with a bunch of other production people, right? And you guys have, I'm visualizing what I see in movies, right? All the screens and people are kind of on the switching between scenes with like a deck. And what does that room kind of look like? Like, is it like that basically?
Yeah, so basically you'll walk in, we have like our own section in the NBA office, and you walk in, there's like 6 rows of like 4 stations in each row, massive monitors, like one huge monitor. So it's 4 monitors. So the 2 top monitors are the games themselves. The bottom monitors are like actually what you're showing, the producing the games on and putting on your storyboards, etc. And then so then I'm just using a key and mouse. I'm not using like any specific switch or anything like that, because all you can do is just kind of click, all right, we're going to commercial, click the content, click the content. So that's mostly like the layout. And then we have like a little port at like the bottom of the base of our stream, and we are actually able to insert like a headphone jack, and that's how we're able to listen to these directors. So if it's a 15 game night, the room is packed. You don't want to be blasting your AD so loudly so that the person next to me doing another game they can't hear their stuff. So usually in an instance like this, the room actually can get like super quiet because everyone kind of has their headphones in, they're locking in, listening to the ADs, and then at the end of the day, they're watching the broadcast.
AD is what? Audio what?
Sorry, say that again.
AD is audio what?
Oh, the associate director.
Oh wow. Okay, I was way off. I thought you communicate with the audio people.
No. So we have like an engineering team that kind of communicates with people on site, but then obviously the way our systems work, we are listening to them the entire time. So they actually don't have a clue that we're listening to them. They don't know that, but we can hear them. So
Okay, so
yeah,
map out the flow for me. Like this person communicates with this person. That like map it out with your
yeah.
hands so I can
So
understand.
so so like the director's the top person. They run the show. Then you have an AD associate director. They're kind of hand in hand. They kind of are second in command. And then you'll have a producer that specifically only talks to talent. So the producer talks to the talent. The AD talks to the director. The director communicates to the AD. The AD communicates with us. Because
Okay.
so like if you're listening to the broadcast from my perspective, the director, you can hear them saying, all right, ready camera two, take camera two, ready three, take three. If I'm putting on just the associate director, I'm not listening to any of that. I'm just listening to, all right, we're going to break in 10, 9. So it's like it's a lot more simple for me so that I'm not getting confused about what is going on. So the AD is going to follow what the director is doing.
And if it's only one person that's doing these changes, like how many of there
Mhm.
are you in the studio, or is it just you controlling all of the video stuff, switching the
So
scenes? I
I'm
mean,
Yeah, so I'm specifically switching the scenes for my specific game, but then obviously everyone around the room is doing different stuff. So it's like if I'm kind of doing, let's do Knicks Pacers, I'm only controlling the Knicks. Someone else on another station is controlling the Pacers. So it's like I'm not controlling 15 different things at once. I'm specifically focused on the Knicks
the
and
next
what they're
side of
doing
it.
throughout their entire.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you do all the stations, or you just have one specific, like you only do Fox Sports or something like that, or you control all of them?
no, we do everything. So RSNs, which are the regional sports networks, we take in all of their footage. But then when it was the NBA on TNT, we were doing the NBA on TNT, and then the same thing with ESPN and ABC. So we produced the RSNs and then the national feeds, which were those two big stations.
Okay. Okay, now I'm understanding how it works. Okay, and has there been a time where you guys have put on the wrong scenes, or you guys have had to switch up, and it's like, oh crap, this is not what we need. This is not what we had planned. Now we got to switch up.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing about live TV is that again, anything could happen at any given point. So I've messed up. It happens. You know, there might be an instance where someone maybe will come back into the show just a little bit early, and I think that's just having the open and honest communication with our supervisors at night. Like, hey, listen, I took this by accident and stuff like that. Because the reason that we tell them is that they can get it taken down immediately. Because again,
They
in
can
the world
clean
of
up.
social media, yeah, in the world of social media, if you find something interesting on NBA League Pass that someone messed up, it's
It'll
going to go on
spread.
Twitter right away. Yep. So if we can kind of get that cut off as soon as possible, then that's just how it is. So from a
Mitigating
mistake
the
that you make,
risks.
yeah, you just keep learning from it. So, but I think the social is about staying calm in the moment as well, because you don't want to be frantic and panicking. Because if you keep continuing to press the wrong
Make it
things,
look worse.
yep, people will notice. So it's just about being as locked in and as patient as possible.
And I'm surprised there's not much communication. Like I would have thought you guys would be talking to each other in that room, but because you have to be listening to like the commentators and your
Hmm.
associate
Yeah.
director.
Yeah, so basically, just kind of the way that I describe it to people is when the game is going on, I just sit and watch the game like any normal basketball
The
fan.
viewer.
But once it's time for a break, that's when like the job actually starts. So it's just kind of like picking apart. All right, one is a break happening, one's a mandatory break, one's a floater break. So it's just I'm watching the game on one computer. I have my personal computer next to me, looking at the rundown. Be like, all right, is this a mandatory timeout, which is 2 minutes and 30 seconds, or is the next timeout called going to be a minute? I got to be ready for a 30-second piece of content. So it's just always just kind of keeping in touch of what the rundown is saying and paying attention to what is going on at the arena.
And where does this all take place? Like you guys aren't
This takes
actually at the arenas ever, right?
no. So this takes place at our headquarters in Secaucus, New Jersey.
Okay. And have you guys ever had to travel on site?
No, so we specifically don't travel on site. The worst, like I'm gonna call it worst case, but for like the Paris games, we would have like higher up people from like broadcast operations or technology fly out to Paris, because then obviously it's not in an NBA arena, so they kind of have to hook all the cables up, hook all the wires up, and provide us the video footage like from Paris. So there's not much travel with the job that I'm in.
Okay, nah, that makes sense for the Paris games. Wow, this is really cool. Like, I wish I had I wish I could put up videos and pictures of like the area and you doing the job live. I feel like that would be really sick.
That'd be. I wish I was able to do that. So
it seems like your office is so cool.
it's a very cool spot to be. Walking in for the first time, it's like, wow, like
You get
I'm
to see
actually
behind
at
the
the end.
scenes. Yeah,
Yeah,
how it
yeah.
works.
So it's like not a lot of people can understand what goes on behind the scenes to, produce that, broadcast. Like there's so much work that's done. Like, and for people that watch League Pass, they have no idea that there's someone physically sitting in an office operating that game for them. Like they just think that it's just kind of automatically controlled. No, it's manually controlled. So it's a
Everything
very
is
cool
manual.
aspect of it that people don't know about. Yep.
Wow. And these content people, they do it live? Like, they're literally making content day of sometimes and sending it to you, or it's prior?
Yeah. So they'll usually send it day of. So most of the times we'll do like a 4:30 daily meeting to kind of go over the new content that's going on. But, there's been an instance like 30 minutes prior where the Dallas Mavericks, for example, they love to send in new content like just before the like the show airs. They send stuff 30 minutes prior, and then I'll get a message, hey, they just sent content, play this because it's brand new. So it's like stuff is always coming in, and it's just kind of a matter of, all right, if you're told to play it, you play it.
Okay, and you guys deal with any teams or any coast? Like, it doesn't. You guys deal with everything.
Yeah. So
that means you're dealing with
Lakers
the content team is for the entire NBA, or each team has their own content team, and you have to communicate with each one.
So we have an NBA specific team, but then each individual team has content staff that will send stuff to our team. So everything goes through our staff, and then
okay.
Yep, they send it to us.
Wow, seems like a perfect system, perfect flawless system.
Yeah, it's a flawless operation. So.
Wow. All right. So before we start to get close to the end, let's dive into the MLB stuff now, and so walk me through that.
Yeah. So honestly, I just had a bunch of people at the NBA that were like, hey, like you should come try this out. And I'm just like, yeah, like sure, I'll give it a try. Like I love baseball. I did 3 summers interning in baseball, so I was like, let's give it a shot. And I'm fortunate to get the job. And I will say, like, for anyone that like gets the chance to tour the replay center, or I know there's a video on YouTube of the replay center, like it's something awesome. Like it's something magical. It comes out of a movie, I really will say. So yeah, I'm a replay operator for Major League Baseball. This is my first season here in 2025, and so basically my main responsibilities are I'll get to the office about 5 hours beforehand. I go over cameras with the ballparks, headsets with the ballparks, and then just a couple other things. We sync up cameras together, so then once the game is going on, I just sit next to a Major League Baseball umpire, and we kind of watch the game together. And if there's a close play during the game, I kind of wind everything back. I call it out to the entire room, and then if a manager wants a challenge, it's showtime. So I'm just kind of following the instructions from a TD who's standing right behind me, and I'm playing at specific angles, at specific speeds, and then the umpire sitting next to me makes the final call.
This is on site, or like the actual places?
Yeah. So we work with specific ballpark and headset technicians. Those are at the park, but then I'm based out of New York. If we were going to, so the Williamsport games at the Little League World Classic, and then we just did the Bristol Motor Speedway, we will actually send people to those sites because they're not at Major League stadiums. So we have to do everything from scratch.
And is that a pain?
A pain for what?
That do everything from scratch. Do you find the process to be tedious and annoying?
I never have traveled because this is my first year, but I have talked to people that have traveled. Like it can definitely be a process because it's like you're basically taking a massive room
Yeah.
maybe shipping it in like 1 to 2 containers, and you're shipping it across the country or like close by, and you're setting everything up 2 or 3 days before the game. So it gets a very, very technical operation.
And what's kind of been the craziest part so far about how long have you been doing it again? Being a replay?
I just started in March,
Oh, okay.
so freshly new.
And what do you like better? Which job?
Oh, wow, putting me on the spot. I
Hopefully they don't
I
see
will
this.
say that no, I will say that both jobs have their positives in many different ways. I will lean towards baseball only because I've had a lot more experience in baseball, but I think that me doing MBA is a massive positive because it's like obviously I'm not as familiar with the sport before I started the job, but it's an opportunity and you have to say yes to any opportunity that you can get. So learning more about the game, the rundowns, and that stuff is really fascinating to me. But I've been working in baseball for a couple years now, so like to get an opportunity like that and really see what it's like behind the scenes as a lifelong baseball fan, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really what sports you like more. Basically, that's going to determine
Yeah,
whether
yeah,
which job you like more.
yeah,
A-
yeah.
And you had an internship at Fox Sports too. What
Yeah,
was
so I
that?
was a yeah, so I was a original programming intern for Fox Sports working on their show, First Things First. So it is basically the equivalent of First Take. So on FS1 with Chris Broussard, Nick Wright, and Kevin Wild. So I was a intern for them for 10 weeks during my graduate year at Sacred Heart in the fall of 2023. So I was basically responsible for going to all the pre-production meetings in the mornings and then kind of doing whatever, the segment or the associate producers would tell me to do. So if I was creating lower thirds, full screen graphics, cutting video, meeting with guest talent to kind of get their perspective on what they want to talk about during the show. Those were kind of my main responsibilities. But then during the show live itself, I'm just kind of sitting in the control room, making sure that all of our elements are one input into our systems and everything's kind of flowing according to the way that our rundown is working.
And how did you land that? And LinkedIn
LinkedIn,
again?
man.
That's
Just
crazy.
keep applying on LinkedIn. Just keep applying on LinkedIn.
Okay, well now you know my next questions are going to be all about how these students can kind of get into this world of sports. So let's go. What advice do you got?
Well, so I would tell, like I mentioned earlier, get on LinkedIn first thing in the morning, go in the middle of the afternoon, and you go on before you go to sleep. Like LinkedIn has a feature where you can kind of look at jobs that happen within the past 24 hours. I always did that in my job search, so I'm always just kind of making sure everything is kind of going according to plan. I'm staying on top of everything because sports is a super competitive industry. So
Yeah,
if you can get in the game as much as you can and stay ahead of the pack, um, I definitely recommend it. And like I guess like the biggest piece of advice I can give is just to keep trying. Like you're gonna get a lot of no's. I got plenty of no's in my day, and you always think to yourself like, am I actually going to achieve my goal? Is this a reality? And it's like, if you just put your mind to it, just keep going for it, things will happen. So honestly, just get up and apply. And honestly, making connections, I think, is a big thing as well. And I think it's
that's
big
what
in
I was going to
sports, but
say.
it's big in sports, but I think it's just big in any industry. So if you have the ability to connect with someone in the industry that you want to go into, you might hear of job opportunities before the public knows about them. Obviously, they have to post it, but then you're kind of like at the forefront of like, I can get this job or an internship.
Yeah, and for even getting ready for when you graduate, building your portfolio. Do you think kids should get involved in school and do things like you did, like call games? And what other
Yeah,
kind of ways can you get involved at college on the
yeah,
media sports
yeah,
media side?
yeah. So work all the games that you can. People might not like this, but it's going to be for free. You got to volunteer your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing that I kind of really focused myself on was, even though it was free, I still enjoyed it. And I knew that this is something I wanted to do down the line. So like the money really didn't mean much to me. It's about getting the reps and getting as much experience as possible. So I think that was a big thing for me. So then with all the games that I did, all the graphics that I put together, my highlights, I made a personal website. And whenever I was applying for jobs or internships, I threw that out there. And like, people start to recognize it. And you can just go like on a simple website tool for free, and you can create a decent website in maybe an hour to 2 hours. So it's like if you're willing to put the time and the effort into it, there's always going to be one person out there that's going to recognize your work and be like, all right, well, I want to hire, this person for my internship or for my job or stuff like that.
And yeah, I was gonna say, so you built your own website or had a portfolio on your website, which is great. But what about social media too? Would you do things like post clips or anything like that, or you didn't really tap into
So,
that?
so I personally didn't. If I were to go back in my college days, that's definitely something that I would have considered doing a lot more. But I do know people that that are in the actual broadcasting industry. Like they fully post their clips, fully post on their Instagram stories, fully post on Twitter. So it's just social media is big these days, and one post goes a long way. So if you're just being consistent with it, someone is going to notice it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I know a couple like video editors and photographers at those schools who are posting stuff to their Instagram or posting like their actual footage and portfolio on social media, not just to their website, and it gets a
Yeah,
lot of likes and traction. So
yeah, and honestly, this can be like a one that people might not talk the most about. TikTok. TikTok is huge. So it's like if you put together a short piece and you edit it, one clip can go viral and change your life forever. We've seen it with a lot of these influencers these days, these people that are in the sports industry. So just keep putting yourself out there. Don't be afraid of rejection. And again, one day it's all going to work out for you.
well, yeah, I mean, if you're going into the commentating world and stuff like that, you can't be nervous. Like, you shouldn't be
No,
going
you
into
got
that
it.
industry if you're shy.
You got to be super confident in what you're putting out there, because I think the better confidence you have off there, the better it's going to be on air.
How did you get in touch with the teams? Would you contact coaches or website? Like, who did you reach out to try to get in touch with teams?
Yeah. Yeah, so through like the NCAA like rules and regulations, you kind of have to reach out to the athletic communications department at first.
Okay.
So I would always reach out to them, and then they would reach out to the coaches and the players. But again, as I was starting to build relationship with these people, they recognized me and they liked the work that I was doing. So it's like pregame, I can just walk up to coach 30 minutes before, like, hey coach, you mind talking for 2 minutes? So it's like you start from the bottom doing that simple stuff, but then once the relationships get better, getting your story and your stats and your research will get a lot easier.
Are there any other? Because I'm wondering if you need editing skills. Like, what are the other skills that you kind of need if you're going into your role? Like, should you be practicing things like Canva or Adobe? Like, what are some really transferable skills?
Yeah, so luckily with SHU, with my major, and I think it's in the communication school, they give you have access to like free Adobe on the on the computers that they have in Martiri. So, just go in and use it. If you're doing like a project, keep using it. Like Adobe, I use all the time. Just keep getting the reps. Canva is a great one. It might not be as popular, but iMovie, any just way to continuously get reps. People like will point it out. Like I've had interviews in the past, like, oh, I seen your Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Premiere Pro. So it's like taking those small initiatives to even build the smallest of projects, people are going to notice.
Yeah, we're just at about time. Any kind of last advice to students out there looking to, even if it's not just getting into the sports media world, but just looking for their first internship or looking for their first role outside of school?
Yeah. Yeah. I would just say keep applying, and I think just keep having faith. It's your work ethic speaks for itself. My specific major didn't require an internship. I left Sacred Heart with 3. So it's like the way you look at it is that you are investing 4 years of your life, maybe 5 or 6, depending on your major or your master's, into
Yep.
an education. Get the most out of it. The work that you're willing to do outside the classroom is going to benefit you where you are today. Because there was a point going into my junior year, I had no internships, no experience, no nothing. So I was like, all right, I got to start figuring something out, because experience is everything. And as much as the degree is great and it's important, it's a proud accomplishment,
It's the
we're
base
in a
now.
we're in a world right now where experience speaks more than your
Yeah.
GPA or like where you went to school. So, sacrifice those summers, sacrifice the long nights. I've done fall and spring internships, so it's like if you want it, go take it. If you asked me 5 years ago in 2019 if I was gonna have opportunities to work for the NBA and MLB, I think you're crazy. But I progressively just always showed up with a smile on my face, said yes to every opportunity, and just one small thing led to another. So just keep trying, keep putting yourself out there. someone will notice you. It's going to come in time. And again, you'll look back in 5 to 10 years and be like, wow, like this was so worth it. But again, it starts from college.
It's getting
You want to
involved.
be
That's the most important thing.
you want to be successful, get involved. Don't
As
just
early as
go
possible.
to yep. Freshman year, sophomore year, get as involved as possible, because again, you can have the smallest internship freshman year, but then like senior year, you can have a great internship that can lead to a full-time offer. You just never know. And then also, I kind of mentioned it, but say yes to every opportunity.
Yeah, and yeah, I've done unpaid internships. Like, I don't know why people just
Mhm.
look down on those. Like, the experience and the network you might build from those. And once again, you're in school, right? So it's not like your time is incredibly valuable. You're not some 26-year-old with a family and a house and a mortgage. Like, you're still a college student. Even if it's an unpaid internship, it doesn't matter. The skills you can build from that and the people you can meet. Because again, like, I did an unpaid internship for a nonprofit, and they end up viewing you a lot higher because you're dedicating your time and helping them completely free of cost. So that relationship is a lot stronger than, let's say, you were a decent intern and you were getting paid at some bigger company versus a smaller company. You're not paid, but you're making huge impact. That relationship is going to be really, really strong, and they're gonna feel like they owe you something, all right? And they did.
Mhm.
The guy ended up putting me into touch with a bunch of people. I got interviews at WWE. I was actually going to work there, but then I decided not to and decided to go for this. But yeah, that was my dream place to work. So, well, I mean, we're pretty close. I'm not gonna lie. WWE is pretty close to the NBA and MLB,
Mhm.
sports entertainment, basically.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
yeah. All right. That's gonna do it. Really, thank you so much, Brendan. It was great to have you on.
Yeah.
Again, you're our first speaker, and you did an amazing job. So thank you for all the advice you helped
No,
and you gave.
no, I appreciate it. It was great to tell my story and just keep grinding, everybody. Grind don't stop. So you'll achieve your dreams one day.
All right, exactly. Perfect. I'll speak soon. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good rest of your